All right, guys, this is going to be exciting. You know, I've been wanting to meet Alan forever. He's a fellow YouTuber, man. He's been living here 9 years with his wife, Rebecca. We're going to hear his story. Maybe you already know him, but maybe some of you don't. We're going to go over his story. And even if you do know him, I think it's going to be exciting. We got two type A personalities. You know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be good. And we'll get to Alan in a minute. Hey, guys, I'm Michael Allen for TravelCostaRicaNow.com. I'm going to forgo the travel agency stuff because you know where me and Alan are right now? We're at the relocation retreat down in Estados Este. We're both speaking. And you know what? If you're interested, if Costa Rica is on your radar or you're thinking about it, is it right for me? You owe yourself this retreat because if you come here, I guarantee nobody's going to blow smoke. Nobody's going to try to sell you something. And when you leave, you will absolutely know if Costa Rica is right for you. It's like, honey, we're going to Belize. And before we get to you, Alan, I want to just go, what do you think the best thing about this relocation retreat is? Oh, real quick, I'm sorry. Before I forget, the link of, if you're interested, we have them every few months. The link is in the description with all the information. All right, I'm sorry. So,
you know, I think you and I, Alan, Michael, are a lot alike. When people come to this event, they're not going to get a bunch of BS. I constantly tell them, hey, I'm going to tell you the good, I'm going to tell you the bad, but you're going to hear the ugly.
You don't mean macaws don't go flying by your window every morning when you have coffee and it's paradise? None of that?
You know, I guess no matter where you go, there's some things that you're not going to like. But, you know, the custom here is completely different. So you need to learn that stuff. So being at this kind of event, and look, Michael and I are promoting this event. We're doing more and more of these events together. And the whole reason is kind of like you said, we're not the competition. We're working together to help you get the right info.
And you know what I like about them? We're going to stop promoting in a minute, I swear. But I got to tell you, I like meeting the people, man. We get to hang out with them. We just don't speak. We're hanging out by the pool. We're eating with them. They ask us all the questions, and it feels good to kind of, you know, spread the stuff that we know to help them make the best decision possible. All right, that's my promo on the relocation retreat. All right, so Alan, what was going on in your life, you and Rebecca's life? You've been here 9 years. How in the hell did you ever find yourself in Costa Rica?
You know, that's a long story, but I'm going to give you the short version. So we were in Las Vegas, and I'd been traveling a whole lot because my background is really online marketing, doing the internet thing, and I was teaching people all about the internet thing. But we were traveling in Las Vegas so much, we decided to move. We were living there a year. My wife and I were always healthy, go to this organic farm. She ends up talking to this girl who said she was investigating Costa Rica. 2 hours later, she's like, why don't we go to Costa Rica? And I'm like, what? And 30 days later, 10 suitcases and a dog, we're in Costa Rica.
Alan, you can't tell people that. That's true.
You're not supposed to do that.
That's not doing your homework and research.
That's
right. Did you go
to
relocation retreat?
They didn't have them back then.
Oh,
and look, I share that story because you don't want to do that. After doing that, I almost left the first month. I'm like, what's the matter with this country?
So when you guys were doing this, there was no other country on the radar? It was just kind of like...
A friend told her about Costa Rica. Oh, how cheap it was, which it wasn't. Told her all this information, and she got excited about it. And, of course, we love nature and the animals. And so we practically did no investigation, no research, and we were here. So
had you done much traveling? You know, like
I had traveled a lot, but my wife hadn't traveled.
That's right.
A lot.
You're in the Marines. So
that's right.
Yeah. So not a whole lot of traveling. Well, this just feels like a really spur of the moment. I mean, you kind of went. You just like opportunities. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
Because I was working online, the most important thing for me was just to have internet. And so as long as I had internet, then I could really travel anywhere.
So did you have your, like, you guys' eyes wide open, or did you have some preconceived ideas of what Costa Rica was going to be like? Or, you know, were you just kind of like, take me there, we're just going to go through it? Or, you know what I mean? Like,
you know, for me, because I had traveled a lot, you know, like you said, being in the Marine Corps, living in Japan, living in various places of the country, I'm very flexible. You know, I can adapt and overcome. Well, when we had no preconceived anything other than she was told it was beautiful, we got down here and my wife went through some really rough culture shock. I mean, she's just like, the first week, it was so overwhelming. And that's because we didn't do our research.
Overwhelming in the regard of, like, how, I don't know, how slow paced it is, or the constant like bureaucracy or red tape you have to keep doing to do things, or annoyances, or what was the?
That's a good question, because in America we're so used to getting whatever you want at your fingertips. And when you came here, it was like, okay, well, when's the internet going to come? Manana. Well, when's the internet going to come? Manana. Well, tomorrow's hitting. Manana. Everything took so much longer. Everything was so much slower. And in the United States,
And you want to get started on whatever it is you're doing, right?
and everything was taking so long just to get the basic things. I mean, you had to go to 10 grocery stores to get 5 things on your list.
Well, how did you guys pick? Where did you land?
We landed in San Vito at the very beginning,
Where is that at? Give
very
people-
southern border of Panama, which nobody goes to.
And you found it from that same
Person. She's like, oh, I've researched, and San Vito is a great place to go. Well, we took her word for it, and we went to San Vito. While it was great, it's just not very developed. It's very Costa Rican. It is the real Costa Rican.
Yeah, so it's maybe culture shock on steroids in a sense, you know what I mean? Like
That's
you're getting
right.
total Tico neighborhood or whatever type of thing. Wait, I want to just go back because this is very interesting since I didn't really know your story. So you guys, I mean, really, 1 month, hey honey, we're going to Costa Rica. We're going to uproot our entire life and everything we do. And we're going to do this down here, which is what you were doing. You could do what you did, kind of digital nomad-y type of thing, right? So that wasn't really the issue. But I'm just wondering, you're on the plane and you're like, what were you really? I mean,
It was so strange that, at that time, we bought a one-way ticket. And we didn't even know that you were supposed to have a return ticket. And
that's a gangster move, by the way.
yeah, and no one even asked about our return ticket. So we made it in without a return ticket. So the next time we actually did a border run and they asked for us a return ticket, I'm like, we didn't have one coming, So we really made every mistake in the book coming here.
Did you have I know you have this person we're talking about, but did you like meet people right off? Did you have kind of somebody that you could bounce off questions to, like, I don't know, like bank, whatever you were doing, bank account, where can I rent? You obviously were stuck down kind of in a very Tico-ish culture-ish way. Did you like, man, maybe we should go around the country a little bit? Or?
We really didn't. The only thing that we did was we contacted a realtor and asked for a rental, which was very difficult to find. But we found a realtor. He gave us 2 options because that's all there was. And when we got here, we rented the first hotel that we could find, and it was so terrible that we couldn't stay. And you don't get a refund. So we went to the next hotel, and it was better. And we stayed there, met the realtor the next day. We checked out the first rental, and he was like, you really ought to stay here, not even look at the next rental. We got the vibe he didn't want to show us the next one, so we just stayed there.
So I'm thinking you've traveled around a little bit. I'm thinking Rebecca was kind of going, honey, what the hell did we just do? What are we doing? What the hell?
And really, you're right. That's when it started becoming overwhelming. And she began to wonder, and it's because obviously you get here, your phones don't work. So she couldn't call to let family know that she had arrived safely. And so things were different.
Yeah, we're going back a little bit. Even 9 years, the internet was sketchy anyway, and it was a different world even 9 years ago.
Exactly. So we've seen a lot of development in just the last 9 years.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it would have helped greatly if we'd have had someone that we could have talked with or networked with or anything. But we
Travel
really...
Costa Rica now. No.
Exactly.
No, but I just say, I feel like we need to put an advisory sticker on here now. Like, we don't listen to him. Don't do that.
This.
Don't do that. Now, did you ever question the move at the very beginning?
I didn't. What did question me, because I'm the kind of the person that does the spur of the moment thing. So for my
apparently,
yeah. But for my wife to say, let's go to Costa Rica, I'm like, are you possessed?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what
if she's on board, you almost have to be.
Right. So
you're an adjust and adapt guy. Like, I'm going to adapt to my situation. I'm like that too. Like, if you took me anywhere, I could sleep on the floor.
Right.
I can do whatever. I'm going to go with the flow. Instead of maybe going over some of those initial things, because I'm assuming you hit. Let's maybe go over like the 4 or 5 things that if you had to redo it, okay, let's go with the first one. Maybe a little bit more homework and research, even on the
A
internet.
lot more homework and
Maybe a
research.
few more bullet points of maybe what you should be thinking of if Costa Rica is on your map. And I'll do the second one too, the relocation retreat. Sorry, but go ahead. Maybe some of the things if you would have, redid it.
Had I to do it over with, I would have certainly said, hey, where would be the best city that has, like, it does maybe have a Walmart or it does have big grocery stores? What does have a hospital? I would have done enough research to find out, because we did no research, and San Vito is just while it's a nice community, it really just did not have hardly anything. And on Sunday, they rolled up the sidewalks. I mean, nothing was open. It's very laid back.
I catch the vibe. So where was the closest hospital? Let's say
the closest hospital was actually there in San Vito, but it was it was
a clinic or a
it
hospital?
was actually a hospital there.
Wow, okay.
So San Vito did have a hospital. Now, we didn't know where anything was and didn't even know there was a hospital there. And we just went there and we just started finding out. And it was an area where you really just did not, since there's really not much as far as tourists go, there wasn't a lot of people that spoke English, and we didn't speak any Spanish. So we were really in a bind.
Why are you still here?
I doubt.
No. And how are you still here? Okay, a couple more bullet points on maybe what they should be thinking of if Costa Rica's on their map. Maybe location.
The location would have been the most important thing, because I really believe we were in a bad location. For me, in my honest opinion, is to actually land in the Paris Zeledon area, because the Paris Zeledon area is a central area where there's not a lot of tourists to get what I would call normal prices, okay? And lots of places where you can rent, and there's hospitals, and there's an actual Walmart there, because that was kind of a culture shock to go into some of these little Tico stores, and nothing was where it would normally have been. But in a Walmart, you almost feel like you're back home, because kind of things are where they're supposed to be at, and you just kind of felt more at home.
I feel that's good advice, because it's kind of getting yourself off on the right foot. Just if you need those needs, some of those wants are kind of maybe right there. There's not a whole lot of, oh my God, where's the grocery store
Right.
type of thing. So I think location probably would be, or at least have a semblance of a area.
Right. And I think the next thing is understanding transportation. I grew up in an area where we didn't have public transportation. Costa Rica does have great public transportation. However, depending on where you're at, and if you don't know the public transportation, it can be difficult. So, I knew that I would have to buy something, but I didn't want to buy a vehicle right off. And so the second day after we got into our rental, I immediately went to all the local motorcycle shops and we bought a motorcycle. So we bought this little bitty 125 motorcycle, and we rode on that 125, my wife and I, for the first 2 years before we finally decided to buy a vehicle, and we just explored all of Costa Rica on a motorbike.
I personally think that's a good idea. I mean, I think that's
well, you could get a motorbike brand spanking new for $3,000.
Yeah, definitely. Like in some places, and like where I live, this isn't every place. I mean, you really don't need a car unless maybe you're building and you need to transport things. But I don't technically need a car, because everything is right kind of where I'm at. I can bike it and go to the store, whatever I got to do. So, so were you open-minded about? I don't know why. Were you open? Did you think you were going to stay? I know, I'm not saying if you had doubts, but when you guys were talking, was this is we're retiring here, we're done with here, or was like, let's just play it by ear for a year or two, maybe we'll go back, where was your mindset as far as the future?
We had already made up our mind now, and this is wild and it's a little crazy, and I don't suggest it, but we had already made up our mind, because we sold everything. I mean, we had been in Las Vegas for a year, and we sold all of our toys, sold all of our furniture. What didn't sell, we gave to our kids. And what important things that we knew that we would later transport to Costa Rica if we stayed, is still in a storage unit in Louisiana.
We did that exact same way of coming down here. The exact thing. Sold almost everything. Did get a storage thing. I actually ended up going back to the storage unit and getting rid of all that instead of even bringing it down. But anyway, very similar in that regard. Like we just brought suitcases.
Yeah, we came here with 10 suitcases and a dog. And since our mindset was that we're going to live here, the first one was a rented place. And then we immediately started looking for other places, and we found something, and we lived on blow-up mattresses and blow-up furniture for a while until we decided, okay, this is okay, and that's okay. And then piece by piece, we bought furniture and moved all over the place so that we could see.
How long were you at that first place before you kind of said, hey, there's other places? We heard of these different microclimates. You've got the Central Valley, you've got the beaches, because there's a lot of difference.
A lot of diversity, right?
So when did you decide to start moving it around a little bit?
The first month. We stayed in that first rental 1 month. And in that 1 month, by going to, the produce stand, the farmer's market and the stores and connecting with people, just asking questions, we knew, let's move. Yep. Let's try out some other places. So we just started finding out. So we moved away from that area to another little area. And the first place, while it was nice, it was way more expensive because as soon as we landed, we found out, what? I'm paying $500 for this furnished place when I can rent over here for $150? Obviously, it was unfurnished, right? But we could buy the blow-up stuff.
Back then, it used to be more. Now that Airbnbs are big, I think more places are furnished. But back then, if you got a rental, it was almost always unfurnished.
Right. And keep in mind that, look, as you know, you get a rental in Costa Rica, you don't get a rental and it has a stove and a refrigerator and a washer. No, you get 4 walls.
Pretty much.
And most places didn't even have a sink, and we'd have to install the sink.
You're not lying. I want to ask you this because I think it does change answers to questions. Are you, and I don't mean to be too personal, but are you independently wealthy?
I'm independently broke.
Right. So again, what I'm trying to get at is, so money is kind of a consideration in your decisions you're making, where you're moving, what you're doing. Did you have like a firm budget? Like, okay, honey, we're at, let's say, not that you don't have any more money. I'm just saying we can't go past 1,500. We can't go past 2. We can't go past 1,000. Did you have kind of a mindset of budget?
We really didn't have that mindset of a budget because we didn't know how much it was going to cost us. But
so you had no idea
no idea what it was going to cost. But we heard that you could rent fairly cheap, and the one girl says, "Oh, you can live so cheap." Well, we were spending $1,500 a month to live in Las Vegas. And we figured, surely we can rent for cheaper than that. Well, we were right. We got here, and the furnished rental, which wasn't fabulous by no means, was only $500. And then we found out that, wow, you really could rent cheap. And look, after 9 years of being here, the majority of the places I've rented have been anywhere from $100 to $350. And only recently, when I went to go live in Jaco for about 6 months, that was my most expensive place. It's $600 a month, and it was not furnished. See, so you can now, if you want to rent something for $1,000 or $1,500,
you can. You can
rent stuff.
You want your 3-floor condo, you can get it. There's no doubt about it. People don't. A lot of time, people have the perception that that's the only thing available. You can definitely. You got to look around. You got to talk to the bartender, your waiter friend. Somebody has a grandma that has she has a little house on a property she doesn't use, and you can
rent it for $80 a month.
That is real. That is real, and you don't find that on the internet except unless you know people like us.
Right.
I think the irony that you now speak at a relocation retreat is so, you could just tell your story and go, because actually I was going to do that. I was going to say, I did everything you could, because I did the same. Everything you could do wrong, we did. Literally everything. I mean, trusting the wrong people, saying yes to questions we should have been saying no to, no checks and balances, no homework, and all of it, all of it. So,
well, in reality, and what you don't know, and I haven't shared with you, is that we did zero research coming here. Well, once I got here and we were beginning to learn stuff, I searched YouTube. Well, there wasn't anyone on YouTube except you. And so we watched a couple of your videos.
Travel Costa Rica. No.
So we actually, and so it was a couple of years later, I'm telling you, I made every mistake in the book. And so a couple of years later, I said, I should start a YouTube channel. But at that time, I had made so many mistakes and I was so mad at how I'd been conned so many times, I could not actually start a YouTube channel without actually speaking positive about the culture. And so I didn't do it. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that I finally began to understand the culture, began to understand the people, and accept it for what it is.
That is such a good point. That is such a good point. Yes. Yes, exactly that.
You know.
Because if you want to look, if you want to find reasons, if you want to be mad, if you want to walk around here with a chip on your shoulder, you can definitely find those.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
And I have to honestly say that the first several years, excuse the expression, but I was so pissed off.
You can't cuss on our channel, Alan. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
You went across the line on that one. Jesus.
So,
you know, it's interesting because you share a lot of the same info. You did that. You started it basically for the same reason we started it. We felt that we wanted. Now we kind of started with traveling tips and stuff, but with the living here stuff, it was like, man, we made so many mistakes. We can definitely help people not make these stupid ass mistakes. Now, what I like what you did, and we'll get into your channel and what you actually do, but the fact you've traveled a lot around here. You stayed in a lot of places. You have a lot of information on various
locations.
places. So how many you've lived in?
Been in over 15 houses. Some houses we lived in twice, but we have practically stayed all over Costa Rica, with the exception, we have not stayed anywhere in the San Jose and La Fortuna area, and simply because we don't like to be in touristy areas.
Yeah,
so
right.
we have stayed in more remote areas, trying out all those areas to see which would be our favorite place. And then a couple of years ago, or a year ago, we finally found our favorite place, and we settled there.
Did you ever feel during when this first started that you had a honeymoon period, or did you just, since you didn't really know anything, maybe you don't call it a honeymoon period, but was there ever a time where you kind of said, yeah, Costa Rica's our country, and you know what I mean? Like,
I agree, because we came here not knowing anything, and because we both like nature so much, it was like, man, isn't this great? And then you go to the bank and you're like, how can it take 2 hours to deposit money? And you kind of look over it. Well, then when the honeymoon phase is over, you're like, you go to the bank. No, you go to the bank. I went to the bank last time. Some of the things that takes forever to do because of the Pura Vida mentality. And so that can be very tough to adapt to.
I would agree. Yeah, but I think that what some people run into a lot is, and even if they've done the research, they come here and they're so busy getting their life in order, finding the house if they're going to buy one, or even renting, getting the car. It's going to take maybe a year and a half, 2 years before the dust has settled, and now you live here, and there's not a whole. Now you're maybe not so much to do because you've been distracted by setting up your life here, and it could be a year, could be 6 months, a year and a half. And all of a sudden it's like, now what?
Right.
Now what do we do?
And what's really important to bring out, which you probably know, is that 80 to 90% of the expats that come to Costa Rica leave within about 2 years.
I know there's no scientific data on that, but I'm also on I agree with that. And I think it's maybe even underestimated. Actually, I'm going to be talking a little bit about that in my little talk, but I think we could talk about that, but this is more about kind of what you're doing. So when did you start the YouTube channel?
I started the YouTube channel probably about 3 months before Biden came into administration. So it was right at the end of the Trump era. So it's actually been about 2 years.
Okay. So, obviously I've seen your videos. You do talk about where to live in Costa Rica. I've seen those videos because you've been so many different places. I've seen stuff where you're doing a lot of building type of stuff and I think that's what you do here. You're talking a lot about
about construction.
Right. So you kind of make those, but I don't know, you make a lot of similar ones that I make as well. And we're going to, just so everyone's clear, all his links, are you on TikTok? You're not doing any dances now?
No, I'm not doing any TikTok.
So Alan's information, if you want to get a hold of him, will be in all the links, whether he's on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, whatever, it will be below if you want to get a hold of him. But he does, that's a good point to make. You do kind of the building stuff, and we'll actually explain it since I don't know what I'm talking about. What with building here, what you need to do.
It's really understanding, because we'll be talking about that tomorrow. And it's really, when you come to Costa Rica, you got a couple of options. You're either, obviously, we always say rent first, but after you decide that you're going to be here, you're either going to buy or you're going to build. And so what are the pros and cons of both of those?
Right, yeah. Okay.
And so we talk about that. And so a lot of people do want to build, but even if you buy, you want to remodel. And why do you want to remodel? So it's important to kind of know that. And well, who do you trust?
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, it's just not the same as it is. There's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of differences.
A lot of differences. And so it's really easy to overspend because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And it's easy to overspend, especially when in Costa Rica, you don't have any licenses or any requirements. If you want to be a contractor, you can be a contractor, even though you don't know how to build a tree house.
Yeah, kind of like the whole selling houses and the whole thing. Yeah. I don't know. I believe contacts are hugely important here. Anybody that's lived here for any length of time, yeah, everybody says yes to everything. Hey, I need some electrical service. Oh, my cousin does that. Oh, I'll get him to come over and he'll hook you up. Oh, and at first you're like, oh my God, thank you so much for that. Yeah, have him come over on Saturday. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I believe the contacts and, really getting out there and maybe networking with people that you can find that you can trust over time and stuff, I think is, well, it's hugely important because it can be a frustrating.
It is. It's really neat to be able to connect with other expats and talk with them and find out, hey, who knows this and who knows that, and so it makes it easy. And, that's why I've got a community on Facebook and I'm hardly ever there. And that's because we have a private community, but it's really nice to be able to get in that community and actually find out, it's like, hey, Michael, who did you get to help you with your resident? Who did you get to help you get a car? It's very helpful to have those, to be able to network.
But where you live, you don't have a whole lot of people around you? Well, it sounds like you're kind of private.
Yeah, where I live at, there's more monkeys than there's people, as I've heard you say before, and there's just nobody there. So there's actually, I'm so far up the mountain that the guy that owns the property is an old guy, 80 years old, and he's been there by himself forever. But there's about 20 or 30 people in a community about a mile and a half away. So I'm up there all by myself. And so when I say I'm by myself, there is no electricity, no cell phone coverage, no internet. Well, it's probably easy for me to tell you what we do have. We got trees, rivers, and monkeys.
That's all right. That's all right.
But, and so I've had to actually homestead that place, and I've put in my own internet. I've got solar panels now. I have hot water. So, it's just, I'm very remote, and I know a lot of people wouldn't do that, but there are people that want to homestead, and I like to be in a private area. So
I think I would say that's getting bigger.
It is getting a lot bigger.
Especially now. I get the emails, you do too. It's getting big. I also find it interesting, we didn't touch on this, what you were doing, the reason you saw so many places in Costa Rica, you were doing a lot of house sitting, right?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you do too, the emails about house sitting. So maybe talk a little bit about that. And you were making, you go.
We were here for a while and already renting a house, but we wanted to go see other places. So there's a whole lot of people, and that's a video I want to do. How you can come to Costa Rica for free. Well, you get on the house sitting sites, and then you find places, people that are leaving for a week or 2 weeks, a month, a year, and you talk with them, arrange it to house sit for them. And so you're taking care of their house, you're taking care of their pets. And so we were able to go 3 months here, 6 months there, a couple of weeks here. And so we just went all over Costa Rica.
Was it totally through an internet? Because when I was hearing about it years before when you came, it was more like almost a word of mouth thing. Like you're in Fortuna, you're drinking a beer and somebody goes, hey, do you know anybody that can wash my house? I'm going back to Florida for a few months and I need somebody to stay there or watch my hotel. I'm closing it for whatever. It was more, right. I saw that. And then obviously the website started popping up, and I was getting those emails because a lot of people were trying to figure out how they can make it here.
Right.
So I don't know. You said it's still a thing, and I'm sure it is, but total internet.
Yeah, for us, it was completely internet. Now, after we got known, people was getting on a waiting list for us to house it for them.
And so that got to be word of mouth after the initial
That's
contact.
right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a very... I actually did a video a long time ago down in Matapalo with a lady that was doing that. She was helping run the hotel. So there's even that avenue, not just even watching a house. And I've met a lot of people that have built small hotels here, but have no idea how to manage them.
Absolutely.
They have no idea how do I get this on that Instagram thing we're talking about?
Well, it's like you said. I mean, I was over on the Caribbean side, and there was a putt-putt course, and I thought, how's that working for you, dude? You know, because people in the United States, that might be a great idea. But dude, nobody's playing putt-putt in Costa Rica.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to tell this story now since you brought up putt-putt. I didn't start this. So this guy named Frank, he was the biggest. I've never really met well, yeah, I have. A racist. This guy was racist. I mean, against everybody. Not any one group, all the groups.
He racist against
all
everybody.
the groups. He built a putt-putt in Fortuna. But it was a, like when you go to like Orlando, Florida, and a putt-putt is a putt-putt. You're putting through a big volcano and it spouts out. And well, this guy built one of those 1970s putt-putts. It just had a board and it's hitting off things. And across the street, there was this very little water park with one slide that just Tico's went to. So he's on this side, and he sat out in front of, right on the main drag, and he would twirl his putter, waiting for people to come in. We literally watched him. I'm not talking about a week, and I'm not talking about months. And we used to go back and forth 2-3 times a day. Never saw anybody in there. Never. And he did have to get rid of it. I think he held on to it for like, let's say 3 years. I was like, people coming to Costa Rica and a tourist destination that's known for rappelling and water, whitewater rafting and hiking and night walks, this generic putt-putt. And you see a lot of this gringo mentality like, oh yeah, we should start a putt-putt or a movie theater. Movie theater's always big. We should get a movie theater. And they sound good when you say them, but this putt-putt was so pathetic.
You have to realize, and that kind of goes back to lack of research. Just because it's good in the United States, you have to understand the United States. Everybody's got excess money, and everybody's wanting to do stuff. Well, it's not that way in Costa Rica.
And also could have happened, because this is the thing too. People I think underestimate if you haven't lived here. When he's talking to anybody in Costa Rica, whether it's Tico friends, people that live here, everyone, when he goes, all right, I'm going to start a putt-putt. What do you think? Oh, yes, that is a very good idea. Oh, my gosh. He will get a yes from everybody.
Single
and he'll go,
person.
I can get my cousin. He can he knows where you get the green stuff, and they will say yes to anything. You could say, I want to start a Jurassic Park type dinosaur thing on the top of Arenal volcano, and they will say yes to it.
Absolutely.
And people underestimate. But he's probably thinking, oh my God, yeah, it's a good idea, this putt-putt.
I'm going to make $1 million.
You do. You get those yes answers. So you don't house sit anymore. Is the YouTube stuff you're doing the total package now what you're doing, or you got your hands in other?
Well, YouTube we really do just for fun. We do that just as a hobby, just to educate people. Every once in a while, we'll set up some phone consultations where someone really wants to, hey, can you give me some one-on-one? Right. And so, hey, we'll do some one-on-one.
This is where we're in direct competition. I'm not even sure why I'm talking to him.
That's right.
Direct competition.
But seldom, because most of the time we're giving out all of this information. And I think probably the biggest thing is that people come to the channel, and then sometimes they'll join the community for a little while, and they connect with people. And then once they find a place, then they leave the community because they've gotten the information they want.
Which is totally fine.
Right. So, it's really just something that was born out of, hey, let's have a little fun. Let's help some people. Let's tell them everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because nobody told me the ugly. Nobody told me it was going to take 2 hours to deposit $100 in the bank.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, I had one person who I thought was a friend. I tell everybody this all the time. Why would I ask you a Costa Rican question when my friend lives there and I can ask him? I got all my information from him. Everything was from him. So when he told me yes or oh, that's no problem. No problem, Michael. Just come down. We'll get that done. Totally deceived me. Deception after deception. But I thought we were friends, so I didn't know even to do checks and balances. Why would I ask you when I got a friend that does it?
Right.
But boy, did he did he burn me?
Well, and I think that's an important point, Michael, because you have a lot of, you have a friend in Costa Rica and he's Tico, and it's yes to everything. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And before you know it, he's really done this just to see what he can get out of you, and he's not helping. Right. And so you do have to be careful And that's why research is so, so, so important. Do your research. Talk with several different people. And if you can connect with an expat, or you can get in a good group that's, that's not trying to just promote, then you can actually get some real information.
Yeah, I think if you kind of have your eyes a little open, you can kind of tell the fakery from the not. Now, I couldn't, because I don't know what I was thinking when I came here, dude. I made so many mistakes, but now I can see it in anything. I can go, oh my God, agenda.
Right.
And then the other big problem, I'm sorry, we kind of got off your story, but this applies. I've also seen this, I would say at least 5 to 10 times, where somebody will get a communication with somebody that lives here. Maybe they own a hotel, maybe they're Tico. A lot of times they are Tico. Nothing against Ticos on this. And they'll get in, and the guy will go, yeah, I'm a chef. I would love, and I got a little restaurant in my place. You can come down. We'll figure something out, and you can run this thing. Or I have a small hotel. You can come down and help me manage. Yes, oh my gosh, they will uproot their life in the United States. Come down, go to the place. Oh yeah, my nephew came in and he's gonna run my place.
Do what? I just sold all my stuff.
I am not kidding. I mean, you really got to be on your game with this stuff, because you're thinking this guy's, hey, he sounds cool, man. He's going to help me out. I'm going to help him. Coming, and the next thing you know, he's like, oh, didn't I tell you? You just uprooted your life. I've seen this so many times. It seems like, no, come on, Michael, you're exaggerating. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not exaggerating. Alan, I think we're going to be talking again. I so appreciate this, man. Hey, guys, if you want to get a hold of Alan again, all his links will be in the description. I'm Michael Allen, travelcostarica.com. Peace, guys. Hope it helps. Things are going to pop up. And if you're thinking about living or traveling anywhere, always do your homework and research. And I'm going to put my videos up against anybody's, including his. Ciao.